In early February 2025, sheriff's deputies in Galveston County, Texas, were called out to a family home in Bacliff. The house had been barricaded. Its residents, a grandmother and her granddaughter, hadn't been heard from in days. There was no response from inside.
Sheriff's office.
A friend of the family, in desperation, began breaking windows to get inside. When he did, the man made a horrific discovery. What followed was the unraveling of a dark story. One of love, greed, hatred, and murder. Hi there, I'm Kevin, and welcome to Just Thought Lounge. Today's case is the story of a tragic murder with a shocking motive. So many of the details are packed into a rapidly unfolding series of events. Secret plans, the manipulation of friends, family betrayal, and finally, justice. Let's take a look. Around 10 p.m. on February 6, 2025, the Galveston County Sheriff's Office was called out to a home on the 4700 block of 15th Street in Bacliff. The house was owned by 61-year-old Tammy King, a recent widow who was raising her 17-year-old granddaughter, Tara. Longtime friend of the family, Terry Utton, placed the call to police.
My sister-in-law and my grandniece are not answering the phone. They're not answering the door. I'm fixing to break the door in. I beat on the windows. I beat on everything. I've got her son on the other line. And he told me to keep the door in. But that's a big old door. I don't think I'm going to get through it.
Okay, and so what are you are you wanting a welfare check on us?
Well, I mean, I'm fixing to break in over here is what I'm fixing to do. Because there's two women in there, and neither one of them's answering. They haven't answered in a day and a half.
Terry met deputies at the house and explained his concern. The last communication he had with Tammy took place on Wednesday around 10 p.m. 2 days had now passed with no reply to his calls or messages. He reached Tammy's son, Christopher, who was Tara's father, on his cell phone. Chris, too, had heard nothing from either his mother or daughter in days. Based on the limited information available, deputies did not have the authority to force their way into the house. The windows did not provide a clear view inside, and every door was locked. Deputies may not have been legally authorized to push their way in, but that did not stop Terry. He managed to break the glass window on the back door to the property and unlock it. However, when he did so, he found that the tumble dryer from the back room had been pushed directly against the opening, along with other items, including a large mattress. Peering inside, it was clear that the area was in complete disarray. It was also proving impossible to open the door wide enough to enter.
Oh my God.
Even more determined to get inside, Terry received permission from Tammy's son to break through the bathroom window. As deputies watched on, that is exactly what he did. With the assistance of a nearby picnic table, Terry made his way through the window.
He's gonna go check. Go unlock the front door for us, and we'll help you check out. Okay?
He was inside the house for less than a minute. By the time the deputies walked around to meet him, Terry was coming out the front door, distressed. He motioned towards what he had discovered inside. Tammy King was in her bedroom, lying on her back on the bed. Sheets and other blankets had been haphazardly piled upon her. Tammy had a fatal gunshot wound to the head and appeared to have been deceased for at least a day. Terry told deputies that upon seeing Tammy on her bed, he did not have the courage to look into Tara's bedroom for fear that he would find her in the same state. After clearing the house, it was determined that no one else was inside, alive or dead. Terry Utton had known Tammy King for over 40 years. They first met in the 1980s when their spouses were siblings. The couples, Terry and wife Sandy, and Tammy with husband Butch, had always been close. In recent years, both Sandy and Butch, sister and brother, passed on. After decades of friendship, the widow and widower developed a romantic relationship. In the roughly 6 months before her death, Tammy and Terry had found happiness together. They held a deep love and affection for each other. Terry was also close with Tammy's granddaughter, his great-niece, whom he had watched grow up.
Is the water cold?
No, it's not.
You tell everybody hi?
Hi.
So we're at the beach.
Are you doing a Facebook Live?
Yes.
Cool.
Well, no, I'm just doing a video of you.
By February 2025, Tara was no longer the little girl who joked along with her grandmother at the beach. At the age of 17, she had developed an independent streak and preferred to spend most of her time with her new boyfriend, an 18-year-old named Uriah Urick. Uriah, who often went by the nickname Percy, was no longer in school, though not yet working. The two did not have driver's licenses or their own vehicles. They spent the majority of their time at the house. Yet, after Tammy was found dead, neither Tara nor Uriah could be located. When investigators entered the home, there were no signs of forced entry, aside from the damage Terry made while in the presence of deputies the night before. Inside, the house appeared to have been ransacked. There were also signs of a burglary. In the center of the living room floor was an open bag of dog food and a few bowls of water, but there was no dog on the property. Investigators quickly learned that Tammy's late husband, Butch, had run a gun shop. Upon his death, much of the inventory was transferred to her possession. The house was full of firearms. 2 rifles sitting out on the sofa had been retrieved from the floor near the Christmas tree. Still others were located behind the sofa itself. Guns and money were scattered in the living room. For the most part, teams assessing the scene found the firearms tucked away in containers in Tammy's bedroom, her closet, and in multiple safes. Other safes, however, were left open and suspiciously empty. Though the home was in disarray, it did not appear that a struggle had occurred. Indeed, signs of the murder appeared to be contained to the main bedroom. The exception were small personal items with evidence of suspected blood. A white purse with a droplet of blood was located in the living room. Investigators suspected it had been in the bedroom at the time the fatal shot was fired, and later moved. Through the kitchen, where dirty dishes and old food sat out on the counter, investigators entered the storage area at the back of the house. The tumble dryer that would usually sit next to the washer was positioned against the back door, a mattress piled on top. The front door had also been blocked with items, though Terry had removed these to allow the deputies to enter. Windows were similarly obscured across the house. Whoever had killed Tammy King had made an effort to impede her discovery for as long as possible. If the common areas of the home appeared unkept, what investigators found in Tara's bedroom took the level of filth to a new high. Inside, clothing was discarded on the floor and furniture. Garbage sat out, including bags of partially eaten Taco Bell. Other takeout food items had gone off, creating a foul smell. Bottles of pills, the prescriptions made out to Tammy, were in plain view. Water bottles which contained human urine were on the desk. Underneath was a makeshift bed, blankets and pillows where someone had clearly slept. In Tammy's room, more prescription pill bottles were on the bed. 2 live rounds of .22 caliber ammunition were found in the room, one on a pile of clothing, another on the floor. Under the bed, a spent .556 casing was located, left behind after the fatal shot. The gun used was no longer in the house. With the house in disarray, safes emptied of their contents, and dollar bills scattered haphazardly amongst the mess, it seemed obvious that a burglary had taken place. Though a number of firearms were found in the house, there were multiple others unaccounted for, including the murder weapon. What was certain at this stage was that no one had heard from Tammy or Tara since Wednesday night, 2 days previous. If the teen had been at home at the time of the attack, it was possible that she too was the victim of foul play. There was no time to lose. The sheriff's office put out a plea for information to the public. As the news made its way across social media, they were contacted by a young man by the name of Rigo. He was a friend of Tara's. He told police that he collected her and her boyfriend Uriah from Tammy's house on the afternoon of February 5th, the day after they believed Tammy had been killed. They had made no mention to him of a burglary or of a murder. Tammy King did not have any security cameras installed at her house. A neighbor across the street, however, did. And that camera caught movement outside of Tammy's home early on the afternoon of the 5th. From a distance, footage showed 2 people walking in the backyard carrying trash bags. They carried items to and from the house. Shortly after, a black sedan was captured backing into the driveway. That vehicle was Rigo's Nissan Altima. Rigo said that he was on the phone with Uriah as he drove to the address, and he was given an odd instruction to remain on the line up to the moment that he arrived. Rigo found this odd, though he had no reason to refuse. Once he arrived, Rigo was further instructed to back into the drive. The couple then deposited items into his trunk. Rigo took the couple and their small black dog named Salem to the parking lot of a local business. There, they were left next to a white Jeep. Another friend named Christian worked at the business and offered to help them out. Christian gave Tara and Uriah a place to stay. In exchange, they offered to pay him in cash or guns. Both Rigo and Christian were told the same story by the couple, that they needed help escaping an abusive household. Tara's grandmother, they were told, had been physically and emotionally abusive to both of them. They posted on social media asking for assistance from anyone in their network who could help them safely run from an unhealthy environment. The couple offered no solid proof of their circumstances. There was evidence that the relationship between grandmother and granddaughter had become increasingly strained. A shy but friendly girl, Tara had become withdrawn from her family as she entered high school and began butting heads with her grandmother regularly. She began skipping classes, then refusing to attend school altogether. Terry reported that Tara refused to engage positively at home and routinely prompted arguments. The real issues began when she started seeing her new boyfriend. Tammy had welcomed Uriah to the house. Family recalled how her home had always been a place of love and acceptance, a safe and supportive environment. In the months before Tammy's death, Uriah began to spend more and more time there. Tammy established rules for their time together and a curfew for the young boyfriend to go home each night. But it seemed that these rules were not always followed, and the teens expressed increasing anger over Tammy's enforcement of these rules. After Rigo gave them a lift, the couple stayed in the spare room of Christian's apartment for 2 nights. He told police that they seemed to display unreasonable levels of paranoia, claiming that they believed the police were always at the door. By request, Christian drove them to a local Walmart where the couple purchased multiple boxes of hair dye. Abruptly, on February 7th, the same day that Tammy was found, Christian returned home from work and found that the couple had taken off. leaving their dog behind with a neighbor. And they left behind more than just Little Salem. When law enforcement eventually tracked them to that location and searched the spare room in Christian's home, they found a scene consistent with the room Tara left at her grandmother's house. No bottles of urine, but bags of takeout food, multiple firearms, and containers of ammunition. A pill bottle with Tammy's name partially visible on a torn label was amongst the trash. They also found a mess left in the bathroom where the couple had cut and dyed their hair, an effort to disguise their appearance perhaps, before fleeing the area. 3 days later, Tara King and Uriah Urick were arrested at a Dollar General store in Laredo, Texas, just over 5 hours south of Galveston County on the Mexican border. After altering their appearance and abandoning their dog along with many of their other belongings, the two hitched a ride with a 35-year-old drug dealer named Travis Hodge. Travis accepted the teens' money for the ride and sold them methamphetamine. But after driving with them for some time, he came to understand that they had likely killed someone. Travis then grew anxious to part ways. He dropped them at a motel. Unable to continue travel with multiple firearms, the young couple left Travis in possession of 2 of their guns. These guns were eventually placed in a storage unit and retrieved by investigators. One of them, an AR-556, was found to be a match to the one used to kill Tammy King. Tara and Uriah were transported back to Galveston, where they were held in custody pending trial. During this time, the truth behind this unthinkable crime began to take shape. It was the teenagers' twisted correspondence with each other over Instagram that shed light on the darkness that had been forming under the surface. Over weeks and months before they committed the murder, the two were discussing their desire to kill Tammy. Messages outlined plans to steal antique coins, cash, drugs, and firearms from safes inside the home. Arguments over everything in the weeks before, Tara's ditching school, her hygiene, and notably not allowing her boyfriend to stay overnight, were causing tensions to boil over. Regarding an argument Tara held with her grandmother in mid-January, she wrote to Uriah, "I was gonna call her out, but thought how you would want her gone right away, so had to stop." He responded, "I don't want to kill her if it ruins our lives or isn't on your command. I hate her, OMG." Days later, an agreement to act was taking shape. Tara wrote, "I was having a panic attack. I know, I'm so sorry. I didn't shoot her because I thought you'd regret it later. I would regret it because I want to kill her." 10 days before Tammy was killed, Tara wrote that she had been tempted to stab her to death. Uriah advised his girlfriend that she shouldn't attack her grandmother with a knife in case she fought back. It would be better, he thought, if they did it together, writing, "Let me handle it. I disable her, then enable you with a weapon." He ended that particular message with a smiley face. These messages continued up to the day that Tammy died. One of Uriah's final texts read, "We ride at dawn." The couple described the murder as the start of their new life together. After, they took a series of brief videos around the house as they packed their bags, grabbing pills, guns, and Tammy's bank cards. Transaction records from Tara's Cash App showed numerous transfers of funds from her grandmother's accounts into her own. At first, there were attempts to move over amounts as high as $10,000 at a time. When this failed, multiple other, smaller transfers followed. $200, then $300, then $50. On the morning of February 6th, one of Tammy's bank accounts was successfully linked directly to Tara King's app, allowing her to access the funds freely. Notably, transaction history from before Tammy's death revealed a grandmother who never refused a reasonable request. $50 for a new phone case, another $30 to order takeout, for example. By all accounts, Tammy was a proud grandparent who was trying her best to navigate through a challenging period in her granddaughter's life. Her aim was to raise Tara responsibly.
Tell everybody hi.
Hi.
So we're at the beach.
Are you doing a Facebook Live?
The teens' assertions to friends, made in their attempt to garner assistance after the murder, that Tammy had been abusive, proved false. There was never any evidence of Tammy being anything more than a loving, if at times frustrated, grandmother. Uriah Urick stood trial for capital murder in November 2025. Prosecutors painted a picture to the jury of a young couple in love and desperate for independence. So desperate that they resented any restrictions being placed upon them and hated Tammy for being an authority in their lives.
At the end of the day, Tara and Uriah could not wait any longer for the money, for the jewels, for the guns, and to be together. And what could have been just waiting a little longer to be teenagers in love turned into capital murder.
Terry Utton told the jury about the sweet woman that he had known. The last night that he spoke with Tammy, she had messaged about her frustrations with Tara. He believed these spats were nothing more than the result of standard teenage angst, a phase that they would work through and perhaps laugh about later. He believed Tara to still be the child that he had always known, quiet and shy, but a very sweet girl. Uriah, who he knew as Percy, had a curfew of 10 p.m. imposed by Tammy. The teens often asked Tammy to push this an hour or more. Terry sometimes coaxed her to be lenient. Some nights he would hear noises coming from Tara's bedroom after the time that Uriah should have gone home. Terry did not know at the time that the young couple were skirting the rules, and he certainly didn't know what they were planning together late at night.
There was times I could hear things that in the other room and stuff, but I never got up and went and looked to see what was going on,
So you heard some noises, but you never checked, it sounds like, to give Tara some privacy?
Correct.
Travis Hodge made a deal with the state to testify against Uriah Urick, as well as in Tara's trial when the time came. He agreed to 10 years in prison for his role in their escape to the border, as well as additional drug and gun charges. He told the jury that he sold meth to Uriah on a handful of occasions prior to agreeing to drive the couple south towards Mexico. On the way, Uriah shared pieces of information with him about the death of Tammy King.
And I tried talking to Uriah then, and I was like, look, if it was self-defense, go ahead and turn yourself in. Because he had already told me that it was self-defense. I was like, what was self-defense? At that time, he tells me that he can't because of the position of the body.
And what did that mean to you?
That he actually murdered somebody.
So when you are talking to Uriah about the guns, do you ask him anything about the guns?
No, at that time, no. I asked him the next morning if one of them was a murder weapon, and he told me yes.
The defense did not reject the state's premise that Tara King and Uriah Urick wanted to play at adulthood. But Uriah's attorney argued that the murder occurred due to immaturity, not ill intention. His client pulled the trigger. He killed Tammy King, but not as part of a robbery, which was the aggravating factor for capital murder. He called Uriah an 18-year-old kid who made the worst decision of his life. He and Tara were naive, drug-influenced teenagers.
We had a 17-year-old girl and we had an 18-year-old boy. And what they wanted was to be an adult. They wanted to be grown up. What they found out very quick after that is sometimes it's best not to get what you want, because they realized that they weren't prepared to be adults at that point. But they weren't killing her to rob her. They were killing her because they wanted to be adults. And think in terms of what Tara said when they were talking about, because they were talking about killing her. There's messages all over the place. Y'all saw them, I saw them. They were all there. But what did Tara say was one of the things that she wanted to take with her? Her stuffed animals. She realized very quickly, as they both did, they were not prepared for this life. They couldn't drive. They didn't have jobs. They had nowhere to live.
That Tammy King is dead because she had to be a mom and they wanted to be adults. is so disrespectful to Tammy King's life.
After deliberating for about 3.5 hours, the jury of 9 women and 3 men returned a guilty verdict on the top charge of capital murder.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Uriah Lee Urick Jr., guilty of the felony offense of capital murder as charged in the indictment. Signed by the court.
The conviction carries an automatic life sentence without the possibility of parole. Tara King has also pleaded not guilty. As of the publication of this video, she is scheduled to stand trial in January 2026. Tammy's family wrote that her legacy is one of love, kindness, and strength, and that her memory is a source of comfort and inspiration to those who loved her. And that was the tragic case of Tammy King. Thank you for joining me, and a special thanks this week to Catherine Anukshuk for joining our Sherlock Holmes membership. Welcome to the lounge, Catherine. I'm Kevin. This is Just Thought Lounge, and I'll see you in the next one.
These crimes get deep, but these stories can't hide. Let me find my seat. Kevin, go ahead and settle in. Gotta be selective, doing all the research, keeping it objective. Always been effective. Can say he got a knack. Pick of the litter. You see how Newton got his back. Yeah, the content that you need. This could be a new sign. We talk in the comments. They jot in a few lines.